Hi everyone, it's Michelle here again with the Clumsy Crafter. I've decided today to talk to you as I'm making this necklace for my sister. I decided to talk to you about trauma and how it affects relationships. I made this beautiful necklace for my sister. I'm going to be seeing her next week, and it's pearls, and this is a Czech glass. A lot of the beautiful glass beads are made in the Czech Republic, and this is one of them. And here's what I'm going to make the earrings out of. I've already made the necklace, and I'm going to have you guys come along with me while I make the earrings for her. And what I wanted to talk to you about was something that came to my attention. One of my clients said that her daughter had started her own YouTube channel, and it's a really delightful channel. Her name is Mitch, and it's M-I-C-H, and that's just the name of the channel. And she does reviews on funny things that she finds on YouTube. And she did this one video that I watched, and it was a review of all the stupid things on TikTok of 2019. And something called an orange theory is what she reviewed. And it was this idea on TikTok that if you ask a boyfriend or a girlfriend to hand you an orange and they don't peel it before they give it to you, that there's something wrong with the relationship, that there's something wrong with them, they don't love you enough, or something like that. And that there were people who were actually breaking up with boyfriends or girlfriends because they didn't peel the orange before they gave it to them. And I want to talk to you about how this is actually a trauma response and where it comes from, okay? So first we're going to talk about what I'm doing right here with this pearl. I'm going to put a pearl dangling from the bottom of these beautiful roses. And so I'm putting this on what's called a head pin, and I'm going to put it through the top of this pearl right here. And I'm going to cross that over like this. And then we're going to turn that into something that can hang from the bottom of that. So when you cross this over like this, we are going to make one of those stick straight out and one of them stick straight up. And then hold it with these bent nose pliers, and then twist one of these around the other, like this, so that it hangs like that. No, sort of like that. I'm not sure if I like that. I'm going to start over on that one. But anyway, this idea that we can just do something like that to somebody that we care about, and that they're supposed to read our mind. And I'll tell you where that comes from. If we grew up in a household where we felt lonely or abandoned as a child, and that can come from many different areas. Like, people can feel abandoned if they felt emotionally neglected by parents. Like, maybe your parents took care of all of your physical needs, but maybe not your emotional ones, and people can feel neglected or abandoned. And when that happens, what we'll do as children is we will fantasize about a perfect love or a perfect nurturing that we don't have. And we fantasize about it sometimes so perfectly that we even write a script in our mind of how someone will be when we grow up and how perfect they're going to be in the way that they love us. And some people write such an elaborate script of how this person is going to be that when they grow up and they meet someone and that person doesn't follow that script, they often go from relationship to relationship trying to find someone who follows that script that they were writing and dreaming about in their head as a child. And that's not uncommon when you've had trauma, some sort of trauma. I've done trauma therapy with people who've had alcoholic parents or drug addicted parents, or parents that were just more involved in their careers than they were in being parents. And this has left the child with abandonment issues that came clear into adulthood. And they often will do that. They're disenchanted with their partner because their partner doesn't do and say the right things, but their partner can't read their mind and doesn't know exactly what they're supposed to be doing because they weren't there when the script was written. This is something that someone has daydreamed about from the time that they were young. And so it's hard for someone to be there in exactly the right way if they weren't there when all these daydreams were occurring. You can see how that would make it almost impossible for someone to be there in that way. And so this orange theory is actually not a thing. It doesn't actually exist. It's just a trauma response. And so things like that show up, and I can tell those things when I'm talking to people and they talk about their relationships that have failed or different things that are going wrong in their relationships. And when they talk to me about those things, I'm able to help pick out for them the parts of their life that really are just responses to trauma, and to help them have healthier relationships by treating the trauma with the type of trauma therapy I do, which I've talked about before with you guys. It's called EMDR. And that stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And I mentioned that you can actually watch people going through sessions of EMDR on YouTube, that people have allowed themselves to be videotaped going through sessions of EMDR. And so you can kind of see how it works. But it can be a very effective therapy. Of course, you want to get a good therapist, but it can be a very effective therapy. But what it does is it desensitizes, or can help you with the right therapist to go back through these times when you were fantasizing as a child about what this perfect love would look like, and helps you to understand that what you have in the real world as an adult isn't an imperfect love. There's nothing wrong with that. That the perfect love is actually the love that you give yourself. And I know people say that, and it's become such a cliche to say it, but to do it is really actually much harder. To perfectly love yourself, it means getting up every morning and saying, today I choose to love me, no matter what. And when we come to that place in our life, it's a lot more difficult to do than it is to just say. And so, but that is the solution for it. So here's what we have here. It's going to hang at the bottom of this, just like that. So that's what we're going to do. Anyway, so that's the thing I wanted to talk to you about today, was just this idea that there isn't, there isn't a perfect love, and anything that we expect of a partner that we haven't actually told them about is not a real thing. So as we have expectations of our partner, you really have to talk about those, and realize that your partner can't read your mind, and that expecting them to read your mind is very unhealthy. And I had another session, some sessions a while ago with another client of mine that I've had for several years, and she's trying to make a marriage work, and we were able to kind of identify several of those scripts that she has for her partner that just haven't worked, and where they came from, and identifying just all of the very loneliness that she felt as a child, having had a father that abandoned the family, and a mother that was drug addicted. And so she was actually raised by her grandmother. And you can imagine how much abandonment that would be. And not even realizing, I think we don't even realize that we fantasize about what it would look like to have, a parent that we long for their love, to actually give us that love that we long for. And we will fantasize about it. And it becomes the thing that gets us by sometimes as a child, is these fantasies that we create that this person that we long for will understand and come back into our life in this dramatic way and just love me. And that's the way that we survive our childhood. And we don't realize we're doing it, and then we become an adult, and all these fantasies get in the way of a real relationship that involves having to talk with someone about how you feel and what your needs are, that doesn't involve having them read your mind or just know. And so this idea that you can ask somebody for an orange, and that they should just know to peel it before they give it to you, and that somehow that means they love you. You can see how that has its basis in this fantasizing that someone will just know what I need. They will love me so much that they will just know what I need. And that's the fantasy that I'm talking about, that we do when we are traumatized. And so you may not think you have trauma, but if you have been guilty of that kind of thing in the past, then it's very possible that you have some of that abandonment trauma. So I wanted to just talk to you about that a little bit as we work today, and just see if any of you have had some of that type of abandonment trauma and how that's affected your relationships and what you've done about it, and how you and your partner have either gotten through it or not gotten through it. Because it can be very difficult to handle when there's a lot of this expectation of mind reading going on. So yeah, just let me know what you think about that. And some of the other ways that this shows up, this abandonment situation, is that when people have a fear of being abandoned, some things that happen is that they'll either keep themselves kind of emotionally distant in a relationship, which causes the relationship to end. And then they have a series of relationships that end. And then they become fearful that all relationships are going to end, not realizing that they've caused the end of those relationships by not allowing intimacy, emotional intimacy. Or they get frightened by every little thing that goes wrong in a relationship, and they quickly push someone away. Every little thing that goes wrong, they'll quickly push someone away. And so then they're constantly pushing someone away and overreacting to things that go wrong that could be talked out, but someone will quickly push their partner away because they're just certain that they're going to be abandoned. And so there's that syndrome that happens where every little thing that they think is going to go wrong is an overreaction. And so that's some of the ways that these abandonment issues show up in relationships. And so there becomes this pushing people away, and then sometimes when the fear subsides, they turn around and say, no, I didn't mean it, come back. And then it's confusing for the partner, because it's this constant pushing people away and then pulling them back. And that can be really confusing. And what creates that is the overreaction to this fear of being abandoned. And so that's what an abandonment issue looks like. And that's how it manifests in a relationship. And so you want to know what to do about that, I'm sure, but trauma therapy is really the best thing for that. There are some skills that you can do as well, but generally, with that kind of trigger, trauma therapy is your very best thing to do. Now you'll notice what I've done here. So I'm just going to make a very simple pair of earrings right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and right here, I think I'll just put a simple loop on the top of this one because this is really sturdy wire. I think it'll do better with just a simple loop. And so to do a simple loop, you just curve it over like this, And then with the cutter, cut it off right about there. And then just continue the loop around like this. Like this. And that's actually what they call a simple loop. And truthfully, they're anything but simple. They're actually some of the hardest loops to get just right. So we have a simple loop right there, which is a little crooked. So see, they're not incredibly simple. But that's one earring, and see that loop doesn't look good at all. The way that this is supposed to look is it's supposed to bend over right here just a little, and then close up completely right there. We're going to try that. We're going to try it. Yes, we are. Right there. Bend, bend, bend. Yeah, it's supposed to look more like that. So we fixed it. Now let me just try to do it with another one. So what I'm doing here is just opening up this eye pin right here. So you can see how many of us probably have trauma and don't realize that we have it. Interestingly, some of what causes that kind of trauma, like I said, if you have parents maybe that worked a lot and felt like they provided physically for their children but didn't really talk much to you about your feelings, then emotionally you would feel abandoned. Drugs and alcohol in the family will do that, make people feel abandoned. And another thing that often people don't realize is if there's a parent, one parent, and this is also the family dynamic of addiction in the families that have addiction within the family, is that there's one parent who has to have things often their own way. So there's a very controlling parent that has to have things their own way. And when that happens, it doesn't allow the personalities of the children to develop normally. And so with that much control, the children can't develop their personalities in a normal way. And so they end up practicing escapism, or addiction comes into play because they don't know who they are by the time they hit their teen years. They haven't had a chance to develop an individual personality. And so they escape with drugs or alcohol. And it could be other things. It could be video games or whatever. But they practice escapism. And it creates addiction within the family. But it can also create this abandonment feeling, like you weren't able to create a sense of self. And so you would feel this feelings of abandonment. And so that can be where it comes from too. It's kind of like families where it's my way or the highway. Don't speak unless you're spoken to, or different things like that. Okay, so these are the earrings that I made for my sister, and I'm going to put these on, these type of lever back earrings. I like these. I think they're the safest kind, and I really like this kind. So we're going to open this. The way you open it is you just twist it sideways, see, like that. And then we put this on there, right here. And then we just close it back up like that. And then we have the earring right there. So this will be the set of earrings for my sister. And I think I mentioned that she's on a mission for her church in the Philippines, and I'm leaving Saturday to go visit her. And I'm excited to see her. She misses her family. They're going to be there another year. Anyway, let's see. Did I get that? Yes, I did. Okay, so there we have it. Earrings and a necklace. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about after watching that Cute Girls channel. So if you want to go over and see her channel, you can see some of the stuff I'm talking about. She's a very cute girl. But I thought I'd just bring you along as I made this necklace and earrings from my sister and talk to you a little bit about trauma. So that's what I have about trauma today. So I will talk to you again next time. Bye bye.